Good evening to all of my friends and family across East Tennessee. This is a urgent local weather forecast update here for tomorrow evening and tomorrow night for the threat of a damaging mountain wave windstorm that could be impacting areas along the mountains, the foothills, and even into the intermediate foothills. To start this video, we're going to take a look at our lower level winds here from the Rapid Refresh, or RAP model for short. And we are taking a look here at some very powerful lower level winds starting to move across western Tennessee here, upwards of 70 to 80 knots sustained around the 5,000 foot level. This massive stick of wind here is going to move on through, expand, and look at this going into tomorrow night. We see these purple colors really light up across our area here. Talking about 60 to 70 knot winds aloft, even some 90 knots in the plateau. The plateau isn't high enough to experience winds of that magnitude, though, which is great news. But as we continue moving through here, going around midnight, look at these lower level winds around 80 knots, slamming straight into the mountains and downsloping off of it at very fierce speeds here. And you can see here how these little areas here actually set up to the north of the mountains. So yeah, this looks to be a very powerful event here moving through tomorrow night. Look at how far north, how displaced that low-level flow is from the actual mountains. That is going to be something to watch as your mountain wave activity becomes far more vigorous. Like I said, this should end around 4 to 5 a.m. Wednesday morning. Alright, so I talked about what was going to be going on in the lower levels, but I know you all want to know what's going to happen at the surface. Well, to do that, we're going to have to zoom really far in here. So 3, 2, 1. There we go. Let's take a look at our HRRR model for our future wind gusts here. You can see some breezy conditions stirring in the mountains tonight, but really tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, we start seeing increase. Look at all of your wind streaks here begin to form. Look at this one here, one right here, and one all the way over here. And I can't leave out this one as well. These wind streaks, believe it or not, are actually caused from little gaps, little valleys in between the mountains, if you will, where the wind can funnel straight through. So we're starting to see this take place going into tomorrow afternoon as we see temperatures rapidly warm up and we begin to experience a thermodynamically driven mountain wave windstorm. What on earth does that mean, Alex? It means this: that your lower level winds haven't arrived yet, but because of how strong your low pressure system is, it's essentially going to rip those winds right out of the mountains, and with all your warm and dry air, it will flow with ease here. And we are taking a look at these winds continuing to increase up to around 50 miles an hour in Gatlinburg going into 4 to 5 p.m. Look at that right there, a textbook mountain wave windstorm lifting right off the mountains here. Take a look at your reds and browns here, indicating strong to damaging winds, potentially moving all the way up, halfway through Sevier County here, maybe Pigeon Forge really starting to experience it. Sevierville, you might be a little too far north, but areas just to the south in the intermediate foothills really begin to blossom here. This is going around 6 to 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. 70 to 80 mile an hour wind gusts begin to occur going into your mountains here in your foothills, and you can see very notable gap flow winds right here, kind of off to the east of Sevierville and Pigeon Forge. This is likely going to be more of a southward dominant effect, so areas just to the west likely won't see as much wind, but still very significant event underway here. And thank goodness this is occurring when the sun goes down, or else this would continue to lift further north. But fear not, we start to see the sun go down. It starts to retreat back south, but we are seeing definitely 70 to 80 plus mile an hour winds in the mountains here on this model. Going to take place here around 8, 9, 10, 11 p.m. 12 a.m., this particular model, it might be going too aggressive, shows over 100 mile an hour wind gusts here in the Smokies. That would be very serious. It also shows sustained winds around 55 to 60 miles per hour, basically a high-end tropical storm, if you will. It may even feel like a hurricane at times, especially at LeConte Lodge here. But this, these winds here begin to mix down to the surface very vigorously, and you can see some of your gaps becoming more evident here. But definitely a very significant windstorm taking place. This model showing 65 mile an hour gusts near Knoxville. I really don't see that happening. I think it'll be less. Then going off to your east here, across, say, Johnson City area, into, say, Newport, that's up to 50 to 60 miles an hour. Very significant here. And like I said, Gatlinburg here, right on the fringe of 60 to 80 mile an hour winds. This is going to be a close call, if not a direct hit for you all. And this will hopefully, fingers crossed, move on out by 3, 4, 5 a.m. Wednesday morning. That's all said and done. But wow, what a significant windstorm shaping up on that particular model. Then let's quickly breeze through the NAM model here with our wind gust forecast. Let's already look at the HRRR. You can see in somewhat agreement for maybe a bit of an increase here before sunset. We'll just have to wait and see. Maybe gusts to 30 to 40. That's why there's a wind advisory in effect. And overnight, look at this. Widespread 50 to 60 mile an hour winds across the entirety of Sevier County and areas off to the west. This is definitely way overdone, and I would kind of be surprised if winds make it as far north as northern Sevier County here, and especially Knoxville. That seems a little aggressive, but very nice look here to this mountain wave event. Should again taper off 3, 4, 5 a.m. Wednesday morning. Your ARW model, just going to take a look at this from more perspective here, and certainly taking a look at a serious situation. Look at these gap flow winds here tilting really southeasterly here. So I might have to watch out, because this could get very serious for my area if these tilt far enough off out of the southeast. But your winds really ramp up overnight here, and you could just take a look at this here. Bam, 50, 60 mile an hour gusts. And not a forecast, and I'm about to show you my forecast here in just a minute. Before we do that, let's take a look at our relative humidity values. They will be extremely low across the board. And then going into tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, our RH values are in between 25 to 35%, very favorable for fire weather concerns here. Again, I have a feeling quite a few people will be going into the mountains tomorrow morning due to the rapid warming and kind of your nice and breezy conditions. It's going to feel gorgeous out there. So I really hope that, say nobody here and the national park does something stupid, like, say, lights a cigarette, throws a butt out the window or something, and it just starts a fire. We do not want to be seeing that, and especially if it starts early, because you have a long way to go, and these winds will lift north throughout the day. But hopefully our humidity values will become a lot more behaved here going into tomorrow evening, where they should rise above 40%. Still fire weather concerns, but they do begin to lessen the further on you go. So that's the good news. As long as we don't see anything starting up in the morning to afternoon, we should have the green light and we should be good on fire weather concerns. But until then, the Storm Prediction Center's fire weather outlook here is displayed. A elevated fire weather risk may exist here across a fairly large area here, and yeah, especially down East Tennessee, not directly along the mountains because of how your relative humidities will be behaving. Remember, you're going to get warm air advection down further south, and that is going to bring up a lot of your humidity values before those destructive winds move through in your mountainous terrain. One last detail, they did issue a fire red flag warning for the mountains here. Southerly winds will increase during the afternoon hours, peaking in the evening or overnight hours with gusts up to 70. Probably going to be a lot more in 70. I think they are really, going low on this threat, but we'll have to see, and that'll be possible in spots. Humidity may get as low as 15 to 25% at times due to downslope drying. So these winds are going to be going up and over the mountains, down the mountains, and is going to cause a lot of compression, a lot of friction, and that's going to remove a lot of your moisture out of those winds until the evening, I'd say. All right, for your impacts, any fires that develop will likely spread rapidly. Please note that. Please note that. So again, if anything starts up in the morning, you need to prepare. You need to get your fire weather kits ready. It could be a long day. So let's, again, fingers crossed that we do not see any early starts, or that would be very serious. Outdoor burning is not recommended. Do not burn anything outdoors. Do not have any cookouts, say any lunch cookouts. That could be very serious. And again, this will mainly be fueled also by your very strong winds, which I have made a forecast for right here. Here we go. This is my official wind gust forecast for tomorrow, and this even goes into the morning of the 5th, but there wasn't enough room to include that up here. All right, you can see this looks quite a bit different here from the HRRR model already, and is a lot more smoothed out because we don't know the fine details yet. Like, this area up here could completely bust. We might not see a single breeze up here, a single leaf moving around or branch blowing. So this area we're really uncertain on, which is why it's just so fuzzy looking. There's not much detail. But areas further down to your south here, say along your foothills, intermediate foothills into your mountains, are likely going to see a very significant risk for wind. And you can see from my key up here, I am forecasting upwards of potentially 80 to 90 mile an hour winds in your higher elevations. This does completely go against the National Weather Service of Morristown's forecast of 70. But looking at what we've looked at so far in your low-level flow, I think this would be quite supportive, if I'm not mistaken, okay? And then you could even see here your 70 mile an hour wind line getting really close to Gatlinburg there. Pittman Center well embedded in 70 to 80 mile an hour winds, and this will mainly be due to your gap flow winds that will be occurring right about through here. You're going to have that nice wind streak that forms, that classic look to it, and that is going to be moving around more off to the west, more off to the east all night long, and wherever it lands is whoever could get the strongest winds. But if you are in the mouth of that gap, holy cow, you're going to be seeing a wind tunneling effect for sure. Basically, think of it like a hose. You have the nozzle at the end of it, and then you hit the jet button, and water just goes screaming out of that tiny little hole there. That is what we're going to be seeing across those areas. So, yeah, very serious there. And that could start as early as tomorrow afternoon. These winds are going to be very sustained, very consistent. If you live in Pittman Center, I'd recommend preparing for lots of downed trees, power lines, and even some fire weather concerns like I've been honking my horn at. And you can see your 60 mile an hour wind line moving up through Pigeon Forge and your gap flow area over here. Like to note, Newport could be seeing some of this action here as well. You see another area of gap flow winds that we need to really watch for. But again, this will mainly be occurring overnight, and then of course your evening round as well. And to the northeast, you have your 50 mile an hour wind line going up to Sevierville, Newport, I cannot pronounce that, and then further north your 40 mile an hour wind line, and so on and so forth. That was a lot of details. With that being said, thank you all so much for tuning into today's video and the video I just did a few minutes ago. And I hope you all enjoyed both of them. If you did, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my Corner of the Weather community down below, and share this with friends and family on social media, so they could get informed of these damaging, potentially even destructive winds here along the mountains and further north. And feel free to leave a comment section below with how well I did. If you think this forecast may end up verifying, and if it doesn't, please let me have it, okay? That's the only way I will learn my lesson if I went too aggressive on this forecast. That being said, Have a wonderful night, everyone, and keep your eyes on the radar, and please be cautious on the roads tomorrow, in and around trees, because we could be seeing some very serious winds tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, and tomorrow night.